Welcome to Real Ron Recovers YouTube channel. This is my brother John.
Hi, I'm John.
John A. And what we're trying to do is relate some of our experiences in recovery and share with whomever is receptive some of the things that we have learned in this walk, some of the pitfalls, some of the challenges, and maybe even to some degree having unlearned some of the stuff that just don't work. When you're talking about being a real addict and a real alcoholic, which is as described in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, is going to give, that's what we're going to be basing our description of alcoholism as it's expressed in the big book. The chapter to the agnostic, our personal adventures before and after, make clear three pertinent ideas. Alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that no human power could relieve our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he was saw. And so John also stays that a structured sober living, which I met John many years ago, back when I was hustling meat orders. I was going door to door selling steaks, and hell, we didn't know that God divinely had in store for us to be in each other's life like we are now. But I do remember meeting him back when he was in Waco at the technical college out there.
Yep.
And that was many years ago. That had to have been 2010, 11, or 12, somewhere in there.
2010.
10.
Mm-hmm.
And then I crossed paths with John again in
2024.
Last year. And we've both had our, ups and downs. We've had our agreements and disagreements, and we're still standing. Thank God for that.
Oh yeah.
We would just like to sit and chop it up a little bit, give some content. There's a lot of people out there, man. They can't figure out why they've been to treatment so many times and it's not sticking. There's some people out there who are taking 3, 4, maybe even 5, even more psych meds, and they're still returning to drinking and drugging. There is
in and out of jail.
Yeah, there's
homelessness multiple times. Been there, done that. I've done some of those very same things. I've been to mental wards, homelessness at least 5 or 6 times. It's like the same as addiction. It is addiction. I find myself there just as much as I do dope and alcohol, and jails too. Thank God I ain't never been to prison, but still, locked up is locked up.
Since you've made your mind up to get sober and stay sober, which shortly after making your mind up to stay sober, you start realizing that it's going to take more than the attempt to just not use, right?
Yeah.
And then, which opens up this opportunity to decide to adopt the spiritual way of life as the way I'm to live from now on. There's many ups and downs in this process to come to realize I need God and a relationship with my Creator in a way that's going to do something to me. Not just me always begging about him doing something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it looks really bleak and dark and bad and feels bad. And then you have moments of relief where you don't feel so bad and you really feel like you're doing well, and you find out you ain't doing as good as you feel.
Oh yeah.
But also, sometimes you find out when you're feeling bad that you wasn't doing as bad as you was feeling either.
Yeah.
And so if you had an opportunity to talk to somebody who was having an experience with early recovery, and they've been going in and out of treatment, psych wards, maybe they've experienced some homelessness and some other turbulent experiences in life, what are some of the suggestions you would give them?
My first suggestion would be that if you are getting into early recovery, is yes, you should find a sponsor, but find you a sponsor that always points at you looking at yourself and back to God, who is the ultimate answer. Because I've been a to-do lister and also not a to-do lister.
Tell them what a to-do lister is first.
A to-do lister is somebody that, like, let's say you got a list of chores you got to do. You'll do them chores and extra chores. Like, you're doing it by the book, but you're not really doing it.
You just checking boxes.
Yeah.
And you got more faith in the results of your own personal effort than a relationship that allows you to rely on God. To-do lists are important to the fact that I've got to participate, I got to cooperate, but they are rendered moot. According to the big book on page, watch this.
Over to it.
I think it's the very beginning of We Agnostic, the very first page, bottom paragraph. It says, if a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, that better philosophy of life is a to-do list.
Oh, yeah.
To overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried, trying to live by the to-do list. Mm-hmm. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources is marshaled by the will, the ability to choose. I could choose to do many things and agree with the attempt to do those things faithfully. And if, in fact, my faith is still only in my independence and my ability to choose that and that alone, but not in a power greater than myself, then it's still just me under my good intentions trying to make life turn out the way I want, and it don't work. Oh, yeah. That's what the to-do list is. And it's not to slander that there's some better things I should and could be doing and participating in. It's to say that until I figure out how to depend and rely on God, you could to-do list yourself to fucking death. It don't fucking work.
Yeah. I can say this, and this is my step one truth, that even without dope and alcohol in my system, my life, I can't manage it. I will find my way to something else, even if it's not dope and alcohol, sex, money, the girlfriend, accolades, acknowledgement. I was speaking on this earlier today, as a matter of fact, that I've had the spiritual issue well before I ever picked up.
Absolutely.
Me too. And that we're always searching for this need for purpose and belonging. We want to be a part of, and in our cases, we took the chemicals to get that ease and comfort, as it talks about in this very book. We want to be comfortable in our own skin, and we can't go very long not being uncomfortable in our own skin.
Right.
It's like this mask we wear to fit in. Like with thugs, I'm the thug, and I'm the only white boy in the hood talking about, da-da-da this, da-da-da that, throwing up gang signs and shit like I really am about something I ain't about shit. Or around the rednecks, I'm redneck, and shit like that. Yeah. And always, to some degree, still being myself, but never really being who I actually am. Just trying to be a part of. And with or without the dope, that is my life. Like, nothing wrong with going to the gym, but I'll start becoming a gym junkie. Yeah. Or, whatever it may be.
The only thing that actually freed me up from that is an authentic, genuine, deep felt experience and maintained experience with God. Because until I'm living for God's approval, He Himself, then I am living for other people's approval.
Oh yeah.
And I, and at that particular time, I can't tie the two together. That living like that always takes me back to the dope house, or maybe I don't go to dope. Illegal dope. Yeah. Maybe I go to psych med dope.
Oh yeah.
Or
been there.
Or maybe I, like children, they want approval and they want attention. They'll settle for bad attention.
Oh yeah.
I did. So I'll settle for bad company. Mm-hmm. I'll settle for people who ain't doing nothing with their life. It's just to fit in,
And I'll say this because, like, even though I didn't want to keep doing what I was doing, I just couldn't stop.
Right.
And I still have to, like, correct people, my dad, my family, because they don't understand the addiction thing. It's like, yes, it started with a choice, but we lost our power of choice. We never really had the choice in the first place. We just didn't know it.
Right.
You know, like we craved for something, and we took outside stuff, digging our hole deeper to fill it.
You alluded to a point I want to put out there while I'm on it.
Yeah.
Power of choice. There was a time where I could have chosen not to ever indulge in drugs, which is a fact for majority of people who are now addicts.
Yeah.
But I never had the choice on my own to choose to be whole and okay. Therefore, it opened the door for a whole lot of external stuff to be adopted as methods to get okay.
Yeah.
Now, once he says it here in doctor's opinion, it says these allergic types. It's a XXVII, and the doctor's opinion says these allergic types. Up here,
I got it.
These allergic types.
Can never safely use
alcohol in any form.
at all.
Once having formed the habit of running to it for solution, and found they cannot break it because I've practiced starting, stopping. Once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, the problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. And because I was not okay even before. I only can tell you that in hindsight.
Yeah.
That I was never okay. Even before dope and alcohol, I was never whole. So I had this big hole sitting here that I longed for it to be filled. I wanted to be comfortable in my own skin and know exactly who I was and why I was here and what I was supposed to be doing, and had no clue. Therefore, I spent the majority of my time being a chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
Transforming depending on my environment. And, that's a hard lesson to unlearn because, in my attempts to be approved of by other people, I find I lost myself. Okay. I never knew who the hell I was anyway, but now I really didn't know who the hell I was. So, but
I had some idea of like who I was, but to be truthful, and this is not to take another person's words, I heard it the other day, but I felt it. I didn't want to be me. I always wanted to be someone else.
Mm-hmm. Like I am good enough.
Yeah.
So I want, yeah.
And in that, like, how we used to play pretend as kids, it was still imaginary, but now it's real life. I'm playing a part, and it's not the part that I'm supposed to play. Right. It's just to get by, survival instincts at this point, and what I've come to learn over and over throughout this way of life and these steps, I don't call them the steps, it's a way of life, but is that I have to question further than just my results and my consequences and the actions and even life itself and the rule of life. I gotta look at the stuff that I've been believing in that's been killing me, the principles I've lived by, because it says it right here, mere moral code or better philosophy. Well, even some of the stuff that I thought I learned in church or, around certain people, like, yeah, my conception of God is a good starting point coming in, but even that's got to be smashed. Even,
transformed,
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's got to be changed. Because if I'm holding on to the same conception of God I started with, I'm doomed anyway. Even if I stay sober, I'm just abstinent, and I'm still miserable in some form or fashion.
That part in the book that says many of us will try to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go. Absolutely. Part of my old ideas is my old ideas about God. Mm-hmm. And my ideas about God allowed me to become the junkie that I am.
Exactly.
So, though it is a statement of God's mercy to meet me where I am and let me start where I am, I better know that where I start ain't where I better remain.
Right.
I have to do some changing immediately. And which brings me to the next question. So one of the big reasons a lot of people fall or fail or return to active usage and drinking is because the soul life, what they think independently, what they feel, emotions, and their habits of choice are so dominant.
Oh yeah.
It is their God. It is their higher power. It's been so rampant that, I have to some kind of way have something done to me that my feelings stop being God to me and for me.
Oh yeah.
That's a heck of a process that usually takes your whole life. It's a lifelong lesson, but initially, the spiritual way of life hadn't even began until I'm made aware that my feelings are a fucking problem.
Yeah.
That what I feel don't make it right because it's truly how I feel. What I think needs to go under review, under the light of God, needs to be transparent and exposed to the people about me. Hopefully, I've gotten some better friends by this time because I am good at picking cosigners. Motherfuckers that'll cosign my shit. And if my thinking and my feeling is fucked up, my choices are gonna be fucked up too.
Oh yeah.
And
even the good choices, the seemingly good stuff, like good intentions, really do pave the road to hell.
Yep.
And sorry to interrupt.
No, you good.
And so the truth of the matter is, without a personal relationship with God, it don't gotta be all churchy, and it ain't gotta be all big booky AA. It's for you personally. Like, his way of depending and relying on God is different from mine, even though we're both seeking the same God. It's just that his way and his to-do list is for him and God personally. My to-do list with God is mine personally. And the only thing I can honestly share that's been freely given to me is this way of life, and hopefully help you as a person coming into this to find God for yourself.
My dependence on God personally is the result of my own experience with God, stemming from my own desire to know my Creator personally.
Yep.
And He meets me where I am to lead me out. Your dependence and reliance on God is where God meets you where you are. And because it's personal, it looks completely different. But because it's the one and same God, it does the same thing for us both.
Oh, yeah.
Makes us whole, gives me the ability to control my feelings, start the process of cleaning up my thinking, and I make better choices because I cease to be self-will run riot.
Yeah.
Big Book said in How It Works, on page, I believe it's 60. 60. Yeah, page 60. 62. On page 62. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot, though he usually doesn't think so. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us. God makes that possible. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid. Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them even though we would have liked to. Neither could we reduce our self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on our own power. We had to have God's help. And I've got to have God's help to get rid of this selfishness, self-centeredness, this self-will run riot, this independence, this do-it-myselfism, this trying to arrange and control life to suit myself disease, right? I can't get rid of it by my own wish, my own willpower, and I can't even structure my environment to fix that internal ism.
No.
But if, in fact, I'm interested in God to the degree that I learn what it looks like for me to depend and rely on God, he'll deal with the self in me, the selfishness, the self-centeredness, the self-will.
In his time.
In his time. And that is what I mean when I say I need God to do something to me, not just for me.
This is not a one and done. Like, if you've never prayed before, like these little first step, prayers and everything, they work for a time, but as you continue to live this life, it changes. It should anyway, once you've done like the fourth step, fifth, sixth, seven, making your amends, and continually seeking God in conscious contact with him, as it says on 11, to carry the message. As a result of these steps, I wish they would change that, honestly, because it isn't just the steps alone. It's working in cooperation with God, because he, as it says in this very same, well, actually further back, where he, actually, no, it is in this chapter. It talks about how he is the principal, we're his agents, he is the father, we are his children. And you have to really put yourself in a childlike state to have unlearned a lot of stuff. Like, I learned a lot of churchy stuff, I learned a lot of street stuff, locked up stuff. And that stuff right there, all that culmination of that is what's really killing me at the end of the day, even without the dope and alcohol. Because deeper inside, I just don't feel whole, and my life is never going to be good enough. And it talks about it here in the doctor's opinion. I'm going to go to that real quick. About what the, let's see, hold on. Okay, it says men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol or dope. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They're restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks, snorts, shots, whatever. Drink and drug which they see others taking with impunity. And after they succumb to the desire again, as so many do, the phenomenon of craving develops. They pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution to not do it again. And this is repeated over and over unless the person can experience an entire cycle change. There's very little hope of that recovery.
Yeah.
And so even once you become sober and you choose to be that way, the abstinence is just not enough, honestly. It works for a time, and maybe even the meeting makers making 90 and 90 might work for a little bit, but if you find yourself where you can't sit still, you're always trying to make a move impulsively, that's restlessness for me anyway. Irritable, everything pisses you off, you're offended easily at every little thing, you're quick to jump to your defense when you really shouldn't sometimes. And then the discontented, you're not okay with what you got right now. There's better on the horizon, but it's not up to you. It's up to God ultimately. And you just got to be okay with what you got right now, because the right now is what matters. Yeah. And without God in the mix, and cooperation with him, these things are not a matter if, only a matter when.
Yeah. I think one of the worst things that happened to me is I happened to cross paths with a lot of people who was trying to carry a message of something they didn't have. Mm-hmm. Oh, they meant well.
Oh, yeah.
So, but they didn't have a relationship with God themselves. Therefore, this part of the book, because he was talking about 10, 11, and 12, and having had a spiritual awakening. I mean, whether it's according to the steps or not, once my relationship with God is solidified and he's doing for me what I can't do for myself, that's what I share. And it says our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. So it's continuously. Mm-hmm. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. Obviously, if I got something to give, I got it from him to give it.
Oh, yeah.
The answers will come if your own house is in order. And well, if you hadn't been through this process and cleaned your own house up and got your own house in order because you practice these principles in all your own affairs, it's going to hinder your ability to be useful. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. And so the persons whom I need around me are people who have abandoned themselves to God as they understood God. Yep. They admitted your faults to him and to your fellows. That's a fourth and fifth step. Yep. Clear away the wreckage of the past, so making amends, and give freely of what you find and join us. And that is imperative. Mm-hmm. So I need I need sponsorship, so I need somebody. I'm gonna tell you something else too that won't get said much. There is people who are for a season commissioned to sponsor me.
Yes.
And they can only take me so far. And then they're out of there because, maybe I've outgrown them, or maybe maybe it's not that I've outgrown them. Maybe they were only limited in what they were able to offer as far as relating what a relationship with a high power looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a sponsor before this guy right here, and he was limited in what he could. He did good, but like he was limited, and that's not to say like he's unlimited. There may be somebody that's further along than him that I might find one day, but the thing is like I said before just a minute ago, you find someone that's really abandoned themselves to God, and is about God, like. Not just this big book, though this is important. And not just Bible-y and super Christian neither. Like all churchy, and because some of the fakest people you find are in that congregation. Outwardly they're doing great, but really on the inside they're just as restless, as irritable, and discontented as an alcoholic addict. It just shows different.
Yeah. We're all limited.
Oh yeah.
Which is to say, each person is divinely equipped because of whom they are to reach certain people. There's people you can reach, I can't reach.
Right.
And there's people I can reach, you can't reach. And so for that being a fact, I don't really agree with anybody being declared permanently a sponsor, because sometimes I just need to hear it from a different perspective, as well as many other hindrances and shortcomings and limitations. There's some guys whom I sponsored for a while, and then I ended up handing them over to my sponsor.
Yeah.
There's some guys my sponsor sponsored, and then he ended up hell, my sponsor's sponsor, I ended up seeking him out after I relapsed with my current sponsor.
Yeah.
And then when his sponsor, who was sponsoring me, died, I ended up back with him. And his qualifications, because I do personally have my own relationship with God. In truth, I don't need him. What I need is to stay in God's face, is what I absolutely need. And what I need is brothers who will hold me accountable, who can sort through my stuff and point me back to God. And now I could be a part of the body of believers and recovered people as a whole.
Yeah.
And so, I
don't just pick anybody, for one, but two, like you said, at some point in time, moving on is not a bad thing. Don't be a sponsor hopper neither, like, because they hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
If they're a true friend is one that's not gonna co-sign your bullshit. That's the truest thing I can say. This man does not co-sign any of my bullshit. He will put me in my place as God continues to put me in my place as well.
I think the biggest thing, no matter who you pick, the question is, and this is bad that it's left on the person who's still sick to be doing the picking.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you see a wholeness in the person? Do you see consistency in that person's life? Do you see them prospering in more ways than just financial or material?
Yes.
What are their relationships looking like? How often are they smiling and it's authentic and genuine? Are they truly enjoying their lives? Because that's what we all want. I want to be whole. I want to be useful. I want to be comfortable in my own skin. And if you ain't got that, you can't relate that to me, and you don't know the way out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being in treatment and having a counselor who ain't never had no drug problem. I mean, they good with what they learn from the books, but where rubber meets the road, they have no experience.
Yeah. And you definitely want that. You want to look for that as somebody that can help you with the rubber meeting the road, where life is actually happening, because life is going to life. And life is going to do what it wants. And some say living life on life's term. I say rolling with the punches. Life is unfair, unfortunately, whether you're sober or fucked up. And life is going to do some crazy shit. And it's not in our control. All we can do is rely upon God, work these steps out with Him to be made whole, so that these things in life doesn't kick our ass.
Don't eat our lunch.
Oh, yeah. Because I can even admit that, like, the past month or so, I've been eating my own lunch with life because I'm taking the wheel back. And it's so, as unfortunate as it is, it's easy to take back that power.
It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
headed for trouble if we do.
Yes, sir.
We're not cured of alcoholism. Alcohol is a subtle fault. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent upon our spiritual maintenance. Every day is a day where we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts that must go with me constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And learning how to have them thoughts go with me constantly is so different than my autopilot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so used to just doing whatever the hell I want, and if it turns out to be fucked up, asking for forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I need to be getting in the practice of asking permission
Permission.
before I do some shit.
I was just gonna bring that up too, because that's been beaten into me in a sense, like not bad enough that I've relapsed back on dope and stuff. I was well on my way because I'm more asking for forgiveness than permission, and
doing shit independently.
Even goodly things,
Good
because I
intentions.
want that status or that recognition. And I don't live this life to go out purposely offending people, but I ain't trying to be making friends with everybody neither. I know I ain't everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay with me. I know that God loves me and God has a purpose for me. And that, and I just want to expound on that, what we talked about with the feelings thing, is my feelings were definitely my God, even when I was with or without God outwardly. Is like, if I felt good, then I was doing good. And one thing I would suggest is, like, even if you do this way of life and things are starting to come back, feel good. That's okay. They're facts, but they're not the truth. God is the truth, and the peace is not a feeling, though people kind of take it as that. Yes, you do breathe a little easier. Life is not so rough, and that's relief. But peace is where you hold on to God and you work in cooperation with Him no matter what's happening.
Absolutely.
And I had to learn that the hard way. This man is a witness to my bullshit. All the screaming and yelling and cursing and carrying on out in the yard. And, at that time probably do needing psych meds, but I was taking them fucking psych meds and still miserable and getting high. So, like, I'm not anti-medicine, but I've come to find that my mental issues and the physical issues all get straightened out the more spiritually aligned I get with God.
Absolutely. In closing, if there was one very significant lesson learned for you that increases your hope of being okay from here forward, and you was given the opportunity to share it, what would that be?
For me personally, it was there's a tradition that says don't take yourself so seriously, which is true. I don't take me seriously at all, but I do take God seriously. And that's the thing, like, whatever reason you've come into these groups or whatever, you coming into this way of life, some say it's the wrong reasons. No, it was the right reason. It's just God moved you in such a way. At first, yeah, it is to stop your stuff, or maybe you're on probation, whatever it is. But as you continue along and see just how, like, fucked you really are, like, let yourself go. Let everything you ever believed go out of your head, because that is what's fucking you.
Yeah, put it under review.
Yes, look at it and give it to God. Everything. And it's easier said than done, obviously, because our default setting is to take back the power. But God is the answer. And if you hold on to Him and keep working with Him and letting Him guide you, along with people that are of spiritual health better than you, like maybe this gentleman, me even, or whoever your sponsor might be, of better spiritual health, that they're not always quoting big book or Bible at you, they actually can meet you at your level to get something through, then you have a chance of not just recovery, but being recovered, where getting high and getting drunk is no longer the problem. The selfishness, the deeper root of these troubles become what you look out for, because those are the wins. And and letting that old shit die. It feels like a death blow, but it's for the better. And just because you're in a dark spot does not mean you're in a bad way with God or that you're not living this way of life. Sometimes it's okay to be uncomfortable. You got to sit with that uncomfortability, hold on to God, put things under review, confess it with somebody. And if you're able to, help somebody else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be another addict alcoholic. It can just be your next door neighbor.
You just
saying
need something
word.
to do to stop thinking about your own self.
Exactly. Get
Yeah.
out of yourself. Like, say a kind word to your neighbor. Help the old lady cross the street. Little stuff.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Good stuff. Good stuff. But this has been a little short clip, something to put out there to help some guys or girls that's on this path.
One more thing. I'm
Okay.
sorry to interrupt you. This goes for anybody out there, including family and friends that might see this. No matter how you was raised, no matter what your circumstances are, though they played a part in your addiction and alcoholism, you yourself have been the problem. Everywhere you go, there you are. And I've had to learn that about myself and correct people on that who still think, oh, if you didn't hang with the dope heads and the alcoholics. No,
Yeah.
I am the dope head and alcoholic.
Yeah, the dope and stuff is just a symptom.
Oh, yeah.
Because, if I was a whole person, being around dope heads wouldn't make me one.
Yeah.
If I was a whole person, I was standing on solid ground and I knew who I am. I knew it, and I knew whom it is that I live for. I knew that. Then outside influences don't have such an influence.
Oh, yeah.
And there, people don't know no better, man.
Yeah. We don't go rushing into dope houses nowadays, but if one of our sponsees was to call us and say we need help,
We can go.
We can
and
go.
get them and
Yeah.
not do no dope.
and not do no
Yeah,
dope.
I got legitimate reason by God to go to hell and get somebody if I need to,
Exactly.
and we'll do it without fear because
Yeah.
I trust God.
Yeah.
So, but so if you catch this, share it with somebody. We also, those who are attending who happen to be Christian or of the faith, once delivered, then you can catch us at Real Wrong Recovered. We go live on Facebook on Sundays at 11:15, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. for Spiritual Man Book Study. But this YouTube channel here has all the steps and has some comments from different people who have clearly displayed a willingness to grow with God, walk with God, and live this as a spiritual way of life. So until we meet again, until some comments on there, and I'll respond to your comments. We'd like to keep you encouraged, keep you lifted up in prayer, and hopefully, like they say in the big book, hopefully we'll. What does that say? We'll meet you after we travel the road of happy, trudge the road
As
of
we
happy
trudge the road.
destiny.
Yeah.
So
Trudge.
until we meet again, peace out.